Hello and welcome back to Spirit Quest Reviews. Today we are going to be looking at Canadian Mist blended Canadian whiskey at 40% alcohol by volume. A blend known for its mellow character and smooth taste. Let's find out about that, shall we? On the nose, I get sour grapes, spoiled wine, home-brewed wine, yeastiness, and a little bit of sweetness. There is obvious oakiness, woodiness, like biting into a piece of raw oak, not oak spice, but just oak itself. There is a sour apple vinegar taste to this whiskey. There's a little bit of sweetness in the background, thank goodness for that, but it is quite astringent. Let's add some water and see what happens. I'm going to add 5 milliliters. Any flavor that was in this whiskey may be destroyed by just 5 milliliters of water, but let's find out. I don't think it can get much worse, honestly. And I hate to say that. I hate to sound like a whiskey snob, but this whiskey, it is cheap. It is not good. It is not good for me. If you enjoy your experience with Canadian Mist, more power to you, but I do not feel that this is a very enjoyable beverage to drink. So why did I get it? I had never had it before. It was $2. It was in a glass bottle, and I thought that if they were willing to pay for glass, it might be okay. It has appeared to not be okay. I will say, though, that this is good because I can say that the problem with the whiskey is the whiskey itself. It has not been contaminated by a plastic bottle. It is just a low-quality spirit. At least for my palate, it is not engaging. It is not good. I get a lot of vinegar and astringent flavors on the palate. So why would I recommend buying this? Because I do recommend for you to get some of this Canadian Mist. Don't buy a whole bottle. Just get yourself 50 or 100 milliliters. Why? Why would I say you should do that? Because it is good to have a point of reference to direct your whiskey tasting experience. You can't know what good quality whiskey is if you've never had bad quality whiskey. There's a little bit of a pancake on the nose now. Still getting a lot of vinegar. Yes. You can't know what smooth whiskey is if you've never had something that's biting and astringent like Canadian Mist. So I do still recommend adding at least 50 milliliters of this to your collection. Add it to your portfolio of experiences so that you can know better what you do like and why you like what you like. Not just because it's expensive or not just because somebody told you it was good, because you have something to compare it to. Now, when you try other Canadian whiskeys, you can say it doesn't have that vinegar sting that Canadian Mist has. So let me see if I can find something out real quick. Canadian Mist. That's what I thought. I just wanted to double check that. Canadian Mist is actually owned by the Brown-Forman Company, and Brown-Forman is a good brand. They make other whiskey that is a lot better than Canadian Mist, honestly. They make Jack Daniels, they make Woodford Reserve, they make Old Forester, all of which blow Canadian Mist out of the water. I can't imagine how any self-respecting whiskey brand could possibly release this onto the market with good intentions. They are clearly marketing to budget consumers of whiskey with this whiskey. This is not even a good budget whiskey by Canadian whiskey standards. There are better Canadian whiskeys that you can buy for $2. There really are. Lord Calvert, Rich and Rare, both of those very cheap whiskeys absolutely blow Canadian Mist out of the water in terms of flavor, engagement, quality, smoothness, sweetness, you name it. Any quality that you could want in a Canadian whiskey, you can find better for the same price than Canadian Mist, just about. But please, try this whiskey. Try it for yourself. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong about this. Tell me if you get something completely different. Please leave a comment. As always, like, share, subscribe, comment, but especially comment. I do love hearing back from you. I do want to know what your experience with this whiskey is. I'm still getting prison wine in the nose. Okay, so it's not the very worst spirit I've ever had, but it's at the bottom end of whiskey that I have tasted. It is at the bottom end of whiskey that I have experienced. I do think that you should verify this for me. Tell me if I'm just hallucinating or if this is just a god-awful spirit that probably nobody should drink except for having a point of comparison to compare better whiskeys to. I can imagine some people suggesting that this would be good for a mixing whiskey, but honestly, you can buy Lord Calvert or Rich and Rare or Canadian Club for the same price and have a much better experience in your mixed drinks, I believe. So I wouldn't even say that it's good as a mixer. And in general, I would say that for mixers, you get what out of a cocktail. You get out of a cocktail what you put into it, if that's not obvious. Better quality ingredients lead to better quality end products. That should be obvious. There is nothing low class about making cocktails. A cocktail should be enjoyable. Enjoyable cocktails come from enjoyable base spirits. This is not what I would call an enjoyable base spirit. Let me go back for one more nosing and tasting, and then we can wrap this up and call it a day. Call it a short episode. The nose hasn't changed much. Honestly, I thought 5 milliliters would wreck the flavor, but the pungency that was there in the beginning, it's around to stay. It's there for the long haul. It's still in my face. It still smells like burnt pancakes, sour grapes, low quality home-brewed wine, and I'll tell you what, I can say that from experience. I do brew my own wine, and when I was first starting out, the quality of wine that I would get would be quite terrible, and this whiskey smells a lot like my first batches of wine, which I'm sure were contaminated by bacteria, had developed into somewhat of a vinegar-like state, and all around were not a good experience. I do get sour grapes, spoiled wine, burnt pancakes in the nose. There is still a dry oak in the front, and there's a little hint of mapley sugar towards the back. Of course, that could just be coming from the coloring caramels that they no doubt added to this whiskey to improve the color and the flavor. I do believe that this is one that I am going to be hitting with some oak and simple syrup later on, if not just flushing it away. Although I will say again, sometimes it is good to have a low quality, unenjoyable spirit on hand so that you have something to compare to. Especially if you are hosting a tasting and you're trying to teach your friends about good quality spirits, it helps by having a low quality spirit over here to compare with the good quality spirit that you're going to spring on them later, and then they can taste them side by side. In fact, if you're new or inexperienced, you should try this yourself. Get something like Canadian Mist, try it side by side with a better whiskey, probably a better Canadian whiskey, so you're not comparing apples and oranges. I would recommend Black Velvet Reserve, Rich and Rare, Lord Calvert. All of these none of them are particularly wonderful, but they are certainly better than Canadian Mist. So that is all I have to say about that. I cannot report anything else. Try it if you want. Tell me if I'm wrong. If you feel so inclined, you can donate to me on Patreon. If you want to support me but do not want to support me that way, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, turn on your notification, and share this with your friends if you found anything helpful or entertaining in this video. Thank you very much for watching. I've been your host as we journey through together, experiencing sometimes not so great spirits, but still enhancing our palates and our portfolio of experiences. This has been Spirit Quest Reviews, and I will see you next time.